So I got a call today from my stepfather. Now, him and I have kind of a weird relationship. Throughout time, I've learned to set boundaries, and I always thought I was setting boundaries, but I guess I really wasn't, because instead what I was doing was I was making exceptions for these boundaries. And the reason that I was setting these boundaries was because my stepfather is an alcoholic. And when I was a child, my brother and I went through a lot of traumatic things in our childhood because of his reliance on alcohol. Now, I'm a very forgiving person, I guess, or I'm just very in denial of some things. I mean, there's some parts of my childhood I can't remember, and I attested to the fact that there was a lot of traumatic things that were going on, and the relationship we had was very crazy. I mean, my mom worked away a lot of our childhood, and so as a result, I spent a lot of time with my stepfather, and he would go home and drink right away, and I know he had his own trauma from his own past, and I really didn't get to have that type of relationship with a father that a daughter would, and it kind of left this kind of dark cloud in my past. So anyways, he will call every now and then. I've prayed for him for years to come clean, and I say the Lord works in mysterious ways, and for the past few weeks he has been kind of isolated from people because he injured himself at work, which is no new thing to him, since he's a, what is it called? A machinist. So he spends a lot of time on his feet, and he's very good at what he does, but I feel like sometimes the environment is kind of overwhelming for him. And given the fact that he does probably have PTSD and copes with his pain and stuff, he has 2 hip replacements through alcohol. Now, when he drinks, he's a totally different person, of course. However, he reached out to me today, and he decided to tell me that he, missed me, asked how the kids were doing in life, and, I really appreciated that he called, but at the same time, I really don't know if I should have my guard up or not, and I really don't like to get my hopes up anymore. Sometimes I'll think that he's going to be doing the right thing, and he might not necessarily be doing the right thing. So as a result, I am stuck in this predicament in my mind, like, should I get excited? Should I not get excited? Or what? Now, when he was talking to me, I asked if he believed in the Bible, and he said, the difference is you believe in the spiritual aspect of things, and I believe in the scientific aspect of things. However, make no mistake, the Bible has actual proof that it's real. There are documents, artifacts, even written on, I forgot what they're called, leaves or scrolls or whatever. And so when he told me this, I was just like, okay, well, that's great and all, but make no mistake, the Bible's real. And I think the only way you're going to get clean is to either have that type of relationship with God or confess your past to a therapist, because you need to be held accountable even if you think you're okay right now. And that's the mistake some people make in their life with everything. They think they're okay, but they're really not. Who's holding you accountable? Who's holding yourself accountable for everything that's going on in life? Even when life gets chaotic, who's holding you accountable? Is it your spouse? Is it your children? Everybody needs accountability in their life. And sometimes we go through life thinking that we're okay, but we're really not. Inside we have past traumas, past issues that we never worked out. These past traumas and issues show up everywhere and can show up at any time. But what's important to remember is that you are literally moments away from taking in a deep breath and releasing it back into the atmosphere, and just deep breathing and knowing that you have control of your nervous system, you have control of your reaction, you have control of everything that comes in contact with you that you react to. You are in control of your reactions, and you are in control of managing it. And sad to say, my stepfather has a lot of trauma in his past, and I have experienced a lot of his consequences of experiencing that and not processing it correctly. Or maybe he is just angry because he is so much in pain and doesn't know how to process it. But the bottom line is, you need to know how and when to take those necessary steps to accommodate whatever pain or trauma you have in your past. If you don't, it reflects in your future. Make no mistake, it will. So when I talk about accountability, I simply say, maybe you're the only one holding yourself accountable. How do you hold yourself accountable to be accountable and make the right choices, the right decisions, and the right path forward in life to not repeat the same mistake over again? You don't, and simply there's no way to tell. But the best way to tell for me is really understanding when and how you feel a certain way about things. Knowing when you feel overwhelmed, knowing when you feel anxiety, knowing when you feel depressed, and knowing all these things is the moment that you take a step back and you do what will make you reset your mind and go back to a point where you feel calm, where you feel collected. Sometimes it's time alone in silence. Sometimes it's time on a walk or time with your pets or whatever time you need, because that overwhelm can turn into anger. It can turn into angst. It can turn into so much more than what you want to deal with. It can turn into alcohol consumption. And putting that Band-Aid on a problem will not solve the problem. So when you really want to get past whatever's holding you back, remember you have to look toward the future and look at the present moment, and remember that how you feel is determined by your mindset. You are the one creating your reality. So my stepbrother and I agreed that we would want to connect again, but the sad thing is, it's kind of an emotional connection. It's kind of like one force pulling the other, because one doesn't want to admit that the past happened, but it needs to be dissected to move forward. It needs to be processed to move forward in our relationship. And our relationship is rather tainted. And yes, maybe he's embarrassed about the past, but what really matters is that the past is the past for a reason. Everyone has a chance to redeem themselves, a chance to be forgiven, because no one sin is greater than the others. Yes, people have done bad things in their past, but that does not define their future. And they have this great ability for free will in this world. And they can choose to forgive. They can choose to move on. And they can choose to set boundaries, of course. But what's important is they choose the way which will show grace and forgiveness. And they can choose to ignore the past. And they can choose to neglect whatever was given to them. However, what really is mind-boggling about the whole situation is that sometimes you have so much emotion, and you've given so much emotion to one specific thing that you have no more emotion left to give. And that's because you feel like you've hit the point of, yeah, I want to see this person grow. I want to see this person transform into something beautiful. I want them to go to therapy. I want them to be, such an incredible person in this world. And they are, make no mistake, but they have to get past the past to be able to consume whatever's present. And sometimes they are in denial. And talking with someone that is in denial of whatever they need to do to move forward, which is overcoming that obstacle in front of them, is challenging for them. So they need guidance. That's when therapy comes into play and other things. So even though it was an emotional experience and emotion seems lost sometimes when I have these conversations with him. What's important is that I did plant the seed. I was able to interact with him in a calm fashion, and he did not seem to be drinking at the time, which is a huge thing for me. I do not want to interact with someone that has been drinking. And it is kind of crazy to think how far we've come. However, setting those boundaries has ensured that I know when I will get overwhelmed, or not to overwhelm myself too much with these situations, because at the end of the day, who wants to get hurt? Who wants to be present for their family? I want to be present for my own family, and that's what matters the most about this situation. So knowing that the boundaries have helped me has shown me a lot of my potential growth and how far I can come. So don't disregard the fact that boundaries are essential to any relationship, but more importantly, to your mental health.